composer and pianist Julius Eastman was active in the 60s, 70s, and late 80s, in some parts in Ithaca, but also in Buffalo, New York, and then the latter part of his life from 72 until the late 80s in New York City. He's a voice from the past that showed that there was a different way to exist, to be unabashedly themselves without worrying about how the public or even those within the industry would perceive them. Pushing up against the grain compositionally, but also via identity as well, as a staunchly queer, out, proud Black man.
I think Eastman's music is particularly relevant today in that certain aspects of his work profoundly resonate with contemporary musical creation. What I think is most striking is the arc-critical way in which he shocked the edifice of the arts industry with his defiance of the prestige of the creative act and of the creators themselves. He very much redistributes and de-hierarchizes the attributed roles, while at the same time he challenges the fundamental assumptions that separate written practices and oral practices. So in this respect, Eastman is still ahead of us.
Cueing the beginning of each bar, okay? And we're gonna walk through the form and you can take some notes about it. So grab a pencil handy if you missed that the other day. I think most people were here for it 2 weeks ago, which is great. This is the first page, this is number 1. We do each of these bars once. There is no singing here. Let's go to number 2 now. We repeat number 2, which is all 4 of those bars. First, we talk about the concept. And we talk about race and gender and sexuality. And then we talk about the ecstasy in the work and the expansiveness of the notes and rhythms. It's work where when you look at the page, there are so many options. And they force agency, they force choice. So not only are you supposed to be holding this space of thinking about race and gender and sexuality, but really you're thinking about each other and the choices that we're making.
The course came about, it kind of evolved in stages. Okay, Eastman is such an interesting figure. Can we unpack who he is and a bit more about his work in perhaps a series of lectures? Early in the process, I connected with Hans Kretz in the music department. He leads the new music ensemble, and we collaborated a little bit before, and I just had a good feeling that he would like this topic. And through his work, we were able to actually develop this into a quarter-long course for credit for students. They're taking the class, they're getting the academic engagement, different scholars' perspectives. They're also getting some practical music workshopping with Hans so that everyone can be in the piece. So it's pretty exciting, I think, for Stanford Live to be able to collaborate with an academic department in this way and offer this really special experience for students.
You know, Wild Up travels and does lots of residency work. To say it's rare would be incorrect. It is never that an institution is like, let's design a class for your residency. And students from all walks of life will be invited to be in that class. The guest speakers that are in this course, it is mind-blowing. As we were designing it and I heard who was going to be the teachers, I was like, oh, I want to take this class desperately. Please record as many of them as you can. The endeavoring here at Stanford is remarkable. And the commitment to this work, it honors the work and it honors Eastman. And I'm just so glad that such a big endeavoring is happening here.
I hope the students will get a comprehensive understanding of Julius Eastman's life, his music, and probably more importantly, an understanding of the significance of his contributions to New York's downtown scene. Through the performance and through the seminar, I obviously hope that it will inspire them in all of their artistic endeavors.
And that through this type of medium of creation, all of those that are involved really do have a full and rich voice that is worth being heard and being seen, so that they can then take this experience and apply it to their Bach, apply it to their Schubert, apply it to the Ferneyhos and the Rebecca Saunderses and whatever else that they do in the world, or whether it is within the creative arts, or it's in economics, or it's in engineering, or whatever it may be. The processes and the way of building in this way as a community, where everyone drives the train, I think is applicable across the board. I think that they can take away with them and enrich more facets of their life.
It just seems like a world that's very distant from mine. And so finding this intersection has been very interesting, and seeing that they're just regular people, just like me, and we just do very, very different things. And so dipping my toe into it has been a very interesting experience, and I'm very grateful to get the opportunity to do this. I was telling another peer of mine who's also taking the course that this will be one of the craziest things that I've done at Stanford so far. I was not very familiar with Julius Eastman's work before. Learning more and more about him, I'm seeing that he was a unique figment of, not imagination, because it's hard to believe that he existed after listening to his music, but he just seems like this very unique person who has infiltrated the sphere and has done so without boundaries and without limits and without structure. That's something that I, as a Black queer person, has had to also conform with, or rather deconform with, in my major and in my field. So it's very interesting to see how his intersectionality in his field has impacted his work in the way that my intersectionality with my work, an anomaly in the field. So I'd say that's where I've realized that there's some relation between us both in our experiences.